Hey everybody, welcome to Sedona Creek Talk, where things aren't always what they seem.
All right, so just to let you know, Jeff and I have been friends for a couple of years, and for those of you who followed the Seething Frog, you'll remember that a couple years ago last July, I told you a little story about a guy that met me at a party, and he looked me up and down and then he said, "Hey, this is a seething frog! I have to tell my wife, this is a seething frog!" Well, that was this guy.
That was an incredible
And since then, we've become friends, and we've done a bunch of things together. We've traveled a couple times together. We've dined together. We've had a lot of fun, and you know, I have to say, Jeff has an awful lot of the same perspectives, thoughts, reflections that I do, and of course we don't always agree, but we don't have to. But he started his Sedona Creek Talk, and so I invite him here to my channel, and invite you to go see his channel as well. So I haven't been here for a long time, and I knew I was going to do a video this weekend. So when Jeff said, "Hey, look, why don't we do some kind of an interview? Let's see how we do." I thought, you know, this is a perfect way to get back on here, and it's also a perfect way for me to introduce you to Jeff. So take it away.
All right, that's great, and thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Frog, right here, and one of my all-time favorite bloggers out there on YouTube. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a couple of basic things that everybody's familiar with. Conspiracy items, 9/11, the shooting in Las Vegas, and JFK's assassination. I think everybody would agree that there was maybe just a little bit of nefarious activity with each one of those topics, and if not, maybe you completely believe, like we do, that it was a complete farce and it wasn't true. So, Greg, let's start out with JFK's assassination.
All right, so let's look at these in combination, okay? And the object of this is not to rehash some of these old ones, but to have you recognize that if you think there's something wrong with the magic 3-bullet theory and that something else was actually going on, we don't have to argue or discuss here whether there were 7 shooters or 9 shooters or 4 shooters. What we do know is that the official story of the JFK assassination is not true. That's all we need to know for these purposes.
Yep.
Likewise, when you talk about 9/11, you can say, well, did the box-cutting Arab Cessna students, were they capable of flying Boeing airplanes at 500 miles an hour into the towers and into the Pentagon? And the answer is, you know, obviously not.
No.
Are 3 buildings in New York City capable of falling at free fall speed? At the speed, if you dropped a bowling ball from the top of the building, it would basically have matched the building as it fell. Is that possible with inch-thick vertical beams, 70 or 80 vertical beams, holding the building up, serving as resistance? And the answer is, of course, no. And you know, there are 1,000 other facts, like finding a passport fluttering 5 blocks away from there. Well,
the one that you really just need to look at is Building 7. Nobody talks about Building 7, but Building 7 was a smaller building off a little ways over, and there's no way that no other buildings fell down, but Building 7 fell down like a casino in Las Vegas from the 50s. Perfect, you know, and there's a lot of stuff out there on what was inside of Building 7 that the powers to be wanted to get rid of and to hide. That we'll save that for another show, but yeah, there was another.
So the idea of it is to recognize, first of all, that not everything we're being told is true.
Absolutely not.
And the second thing is that, you know, I have people say to me, well, if they're doing this, why are they doing that? If they're running the Fed, then why are they doing all these other things? And the answer is they're going to do everything they can to close in on it. So something I shared with Jeff is this. And I'll give you, as part of the screenshot, I'll give you the copy, the original of this, or a face screen. So one of the things that I've done over the last couple of months is put some stuff together, and Jeff, you can take a look at it, but basically I put I put a masked sheep in the middle of it, this right on target, and said, hey, look, what's going on here?
Oh,
yeah, we don't, it's all right. It's okay.
Oh, how about if I go like this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, what I'm going to do, is drop. I'm going to drop that onto the screen. All right, so once you say, and this is what I believe, once you say the JFK assassination is not true, 9/11 is not true, Mandalay Bay is not true, Boston marathon bombing might not be true, there are all kinds of false flags if you watch Olie Damagard in Europe that are not true, then what I would ask, and this is what I said to Geof when we were talking about doing this, is, all right, if those are not true, why do you think anything else they tell us is true? And if you question the JFK assassination, why do you think they've become less sophisticated at lying and making up stories since then, if those things are not true? And so when you look at this, what I said by making up this screen is that, look, pay attention, because you're going to see the artificial intelligence, forced vaccines, eugenics, lost rights, bioweapons, 5G, chemtrails, digital currency, martial law. You're going to see the surveillance state. You've got Elon Musk putting satellites everywhere. You've got 5G going in all over the country. And people say, well, that's this and that's that, and they told us this. Well, the simple answer to this is, if you do not look at all of these items and say, what are they really doing? Here's what they told us they were doing. What are they really doing? And the second answer, the second part of the question is, why? And the problem that you get to, if you take a look at the 20 or so things that I put on this screen, is that every single one of them points toward the target. And folks, we're the target. Every single one of those points toward the target. The government lies, the government takeover, the three-letter agencies, the international stuff, the global takedown, the digital currency. People think that cryptocurrency, and I'm mouthing off here, but people think that cryptocurrency is either a savior from the Federal Reserve. God, all we got to do is get into our independent blockchain cryptocurrencies and everything's going to be great, or they think that that's the ultimate end and we'll all be okay once the digital currency gets in. Federal Reserve goes down, the cryptocurrency goes in, everything's fine. And we've got idiots like Robert David Steele and Fulford and Willie and Benny, and then some of the rest of these guys say, well, the Federal Reserve is going down. Well, the Federal Reserve is only going down if they choose to go down. And they're only going to go down in the ways they choose to go down, and they're only going to go down if they have something better. And if they have something better, and it's cryptocurrency, what you have to say then is, what are they doing with cryptocurrency? Why are they doing it? And what is their ultimate goal? And if you've followed, and again, I'm mouthing off here, but if you follow the last few weeks and Bill Gates, you've got Bill Gates involved in fake baby milk. You've got Bill Gates involved in fake meat. You've got Bill Gates filing a patent for COVID-19. You've got him working on vaccines. You've got Bill Gates spending billions of dollars taking over the pharmaceutical industry in a whole variety of places. You've got Bill Gates giving tetanus shots to Kenyans to neutralize them, to make them sterile. You've got Bill Gates doing polio shots in India that are taking them down. And you've got Bill Gates on CNN and wrapped in around Fauci and Birx and President Trump, let me say it 3 times, President Trump, that are planning to vaccinate us all. And that's not the end of it. They've got an invisible tattoo that goes with the vaccine, and guess who has the patent on that? Can you guess?
Does he not have enough money? I mean, how much money is he?
His name is Bill Gates.
What do you do when you got that? I mean,
35 of the 37 people that oversee the Council on Vaccines in Great Britain are, guess what? They all get money from Bill Gates. Isn't that a funny deal?
Yeah,
Isn't it? So here's the thing. Take a look at Our Time, the movie, 2011, 2012. Timberlake, whatever his name is, Goofy Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
So what they show is an invisible tattoo on your forearm that shows up, right? Kind of neon.
Yeah, yeah.
And it shows how much time you have. Okay?
That movie, yeah, that was horrible.
Okay,
yeah.
so that movie shows how you earn time working in the shop.
And how you lose time.
And how you lose time, right?
Yeah.
And so Gates comes out with a new patent that provides a chip that will measure your caloric expense toward your body energy. And if you're doing, and this is in the patent, if you're doing the right activity, you will mine cryptocurrency.
You're talking 060606.
I am.
Yes.
You will mine cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
There are channels that talk about this, but they don't talk about the ultimate end.
Yeah.
The ultimate end is you've got the invisible, the marker tattoo that tells you how much time you have.
Yeah.
You've got the chip in you that tells the central agencies through 5G whether you've done work. So here's my example. Okay, this is kind of a silly example. You're living in a 200 square foot bed set. Okay.
Yeah.
They tell you in the morning you're going to go out to work on the bus. Okay. You climb into the bus like everybody else, because if you don't, you get in trouble.
Right.
They take you out to a field and they said, today you're going to hoe beets, you're going to weed beets. They hand you a hoe and they say, all right, now we're watching you. We've got biolocation. We know what row you're on.
Yeah. You're talking about picking weeds out of a beet field.
Or with a hoe or whatever it is.
Big fields, massive quantity.
Maybe picking the beets.
Hardcore forced labor, basically.
Yeah. Well, of course, they're going to do this with AI, but it's a good example.
Yeah.
They also have cameras that will tell whether you're effectively working. Okay? If the biolocation works and the cameras say that you're actually doing the work, your caloric expense is going to be counted. And at the end of the day, they're going to say you've gained so many cryptocurrency credits, which means that you get to stay in your 200 square foot concrete bunker for the night, your bed sit, and you may be able to buy dinner and coffee in the morning.
Wow.
And if you don't...
Will it be Starbucks?
Oh, I'm sure it will. If you don't, then you will either be locked out of your room or you'll be unable to buy food.
So we have chipped homeless people now, basically.
But let me add to this, and this goes clear back to Stalin and the gulags, right? If you read Solzhenitsyn, what Solzhenitsyn said is that the people got into the gulags, and when they got out of the gulags, they were exiled, right? And what Stalin tried to do was to make those people so that they were basically lepers. They were homeless lepers that could not be helped. They could not return to their native area. So if they lived in Moscow or St. Petersburg, they could not return to there. They had to be 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And they were exiled, and everybody in the community where they were knew that they were exiled.
So they were marked.
They were marked, and they were not supposed to be benefited. You're not supposed to feed them. You're not supposed to hire them. You're not supposed to work them. They were marked people.
Man.
Now, and so what they did is oftentimes those people were starving to death, so you know what they did? They committed new crime to get back into the gulags because it was the only way that they could get food.
It's like prisoners do that don't know any better and they want to go back to prison, right?
All right, so the only problem with Stalin, if you're looking at technocracy, the only problem with Stalin is he couldn't make it stick perfectly, okay? Now, when you have AI and 5G and satellite surveillance and cameras and picture ID, you can make it stick. And they know you can make it stick. They know they can make it stick.
Yep.
So they're going to, if you think that Our Time Justin Timberlake deal is bad, you converge the other 3 or 4 or 5 things that they're capable of doing that are not even in Our Time.
Right.
So if you're protesting, shut you off. If you're showing up to complain, shut you off. If you're in an area that you're not supposed to be in, shut you off.
So if you got a big paycheck that week and you did a lot of work, but you got caught doing something nefarious that they didn't care about. They just
turn you off.
And they know it, and it's just no court system. You just, there you go. Boom.
10 demerits for jaywalking, you lose a day, right? You show up at a protest, they zero you out.
Yeah.
They are. You say, well, gee, that's all hypothetical. That's all stuff. No, they're doing social credit scoring right now in China.
They do it. It's
and who's helping them do it? Google.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Well, they tout this DuckDuckGo. You know, I see billboards in Phoenix now. DuckDuckGo.
Beautiful stuff.
They're telling you how. They're explaining it on these billboards, how nobody tracks you, none of this stuff, you know.
Do you want to know the truth? Let me tell you the truth.
I know,
up front and personal.
Yeah.
All right, so I got the travel record from Google. I got a letter from Google, an email from Google, about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
6, 8 weeks ago. Here's your March 2020 travel time record. And I looked at it, and guess what? Everywhere I had gone
was on there. Oh, absolutely.
Now,
I've seen it. Yeah.
Here's the problem with it, is that I shut the Google travel stuff off a year ago in February, February 19th.
Okay. Yeah.
So how did Google know where I was in March of 2020?
Yeah, it's not off. It's not.
You know
off.
why?
It's not off.
Do you know why?
It's never off.
Because I used Waze.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what happens with Waze if you turn off Google location? Waze doesn't work. You know why?
Because they use it. Their operating
Because they
system.
use Google location.
Yeah.
So Google, and then, so I thought, well, what's this all about? I'd never seen it before. So the first thing I did is, they said, well, here's your complete record. And I looked at it, and back at least 3 or 4 years, they had every place I'd been.
Yeah.
Montana, Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, Los Angeles, San Diego, everywhere I had been.
Oh, yeah.
They had logged and marked. And you know that they not only have that, but every time I went to the post office, it's marked. So then I said, all right, well, I don't want to be on Google time check, time record, because it's so wonderful that I can keep track of all my stuff.
Right.
I'll turn it off. Do you know where you found the turn off?
You didn't.
I did not. There is no turn off.
Probably not. No.
So unless you turn off your smartphone, they're smarter than you are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hear about the big cases all the time, and they just subpoena Google and they come up with it. Well, what if the guy had his security shut off? How are they able to come up? They come up with it. So it's there. It's every keystroke, whether you type a sentence on your keyboard and then backspace out, what you typed is recorded. I don't care if you don't hit enter, you don't send the email.
The whole work.
Every single thing that you do is recorded. Yep. Yeah. So we're going to go to this list, and it's a big list. We're not going to go over it all today, but
shoot at me.
Dr. Frog said pick something off the list. So
shoot at me.
So, what the heck? Martial law is on here, small print.
All right. So there are people who would argue we are not in martial law now.
Right. Yeah.
But idiot George W. Bush declared an emergency, declared a national emergency, and we had a war on terrorism, right?
Yeah.
And the war on terrorism basically allows and justifies him doing everything else he wants to.
Patriot Act.
Then they passed the Patriot Act, and they have now renewed the Patriot Act, what, 5 times, 4 times?
Yeah, they got to have it. They don't let go of that.
And they expand it, and they play with it.
Yep.
And so here's what happened, and I find this fascinating. So we have a war on terrorism. I don't know what country terrorism is. Do you know what country terrorism is? Huh?
No.
Is it the nation of terrorism?
Well, it might be.
Is it in South Africa?
Yeah.
Next to Indonesia?
Yeah.
Do they take a little spot up like Liechtenstein right next to Haiti?
Yeah. It's new, It's a new enemy. New.
All right, so now we have a new enemy, which is even more ubiquitous and bullshit than terrorism. And you know what that is, don't you?
No, tell me.
COVID-19!
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
we have a war on a virus.
We do.
And so
it's invisible.
We have now moved to a 0.3 micron enemy.
Well, it's an invisible enemy, according to the president.
And so President Trump declared an emergency, national emergency in all 50 states. What does that do?
Gives him the autonomy to whatever he wants.
It also
blank check, basically.
It activates FEMA.
Ah, yes.
It gives FEMA oversight of all those areas.
Yeah.
And so they have primacy.
That's the
And
guys
they're-
with all those big caskets, right? Those big 10-man caskets that they found.
the big plastic caskets.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Same FEMA I'm
Yeah,
thinking
several
of.
100,000 caskets.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the trenches. They're the ones that have the secret FEMA camps and the rest of that.
Yeah.
And of course, when you take constitutional law and you say, I have the right to my body, I have a right to assemble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I have a right
To bear arms.
to bear
Yeah.
arms. I have a right to free speech. I have a right, we have right of the press, right? I have a right to my religious preference.
Yeah.
All of those have been zeroed, and they've all theoretically been zeroed on the basis of COVID, right? Well, here's the way this reads. And Perkins Coie, the nasty law firm from Seattle,
Yep.
flipped it for Black Lives Matter, and I looked at it. So here's the deal.
That was Perkins
There-
Coie that did that.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Is there an emergency? Does it impact the people immediately? Does it provide a dangerous situation? I'm paraphrasing. Does it provide a dangerous situation which necessitates some form of engagement? And will it, in any effect, health or whatever reasons, will it impact the fundamental rights? And if it does, it takes a strict construction test. Not only does it take a strict construction test, but it has to be as narrowly confined and as limited and as likely effective as possible. Okay? So when you say somebody can't assemble and they can't go to church and they don't have free speech and they don't have the right to breathe freely, you better have scientific basis for the scare and
Yeah.
for the effectiveness and for the health problems, and you better have a result that is as narrowly confined as possible and as least infringing as possible on those fundamental rights and lasts for the least amount of time as possible. Which one of those would you say works? And the answer is none of the above, right?
No.
None
yeah,
of the
yeah,
above.
yeah. Well, it works for them.
Yeah, but it doesn't work in terms of the constrictures set by constitutional law and by the Supreme Court in past situations that apply to the necessity for infringing on fundamental rights as an offset against an emergency. You know, you have to meet those minimum standards.
I would think so. This is the biggest. I mean, this is as high as it goes in law in the United States.
You can't. You can
you know.
suspend habeas corpus. Okay.
Yeah, which he did.
You can suspend habeas corpus.
Yep.
But that's the only right you can suspend.
Yes.
And those overrides on the rest of those rights is only temporary.
And habeas corpus, everybody, just so you know, is the right to a quick trial. You should be read your Miranda rights, and you should have the right to go in front of a court within a fair amount of time. When your habeas corpus is removed, they can lock you up for 20 years, and you don't have that right. That right's gone. I mean, essentially.
Habeas corpus, the Latin definition of it is bring forth the body. Okay, so effectively what it means is take the body before a court and give the person judicial rights.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
If you take a look at it, I'm trying to think what her last name is. I think it's Susan Lindauer. Take a look at Susan Lindauer and see what happened in light of the Patriot Act and the suspension of her right of habeas corpus when she was working for the CIA. Take a look at that one. It took her 5 years to get out of prison.
she was in jail for a long time.
Never charged.
And then they just let her go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See. So
that was in the early 2000s.
I don't know if she feels lucky or not.
15 or 20 years.
5 years. We're just gonna let you go. No, yeah.
So I mean,
so they didn't have to have a trial. Basically, they kept her for whatever reason they had, as long as they needed her, and then they just let her go, and it was all legal on their side. So yeah.
So people tell me, William Barr's going to fix this up. This is the Q bullshit. That William Barr's going to fix it up. And I've said to people before, William Barr is a deep state actor. He's a puppet like everybody else. He's not going to help you. Whitaker's not going to help you. What's the other prosecutor's name that's supposedly looking deeply into all this stuff right now?
Oh yeah, you've got the Horowitz is.
You got Horowitz, and then you got somebody like Drumhaven or something. What the hell was the guy's name?
Yeah. No, and we sound really stupid not remembering this.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. It's like Durwood.
Durham, sorry, yeah, Bull Durham.
Bull
calls
Durham.
him. I think we had a brain fart there, folks.
I will guarantee you.
The Durham report, yeah.
I will guarantee you nothing will happen.
Well, they've already said he ain't going to come out. If there is legal issues, they're going to go ahead and just arrest people. They're not, no indictments. They're going to just look past that section and go right to the arrest.
Well, you could do. You don't have to do an indictment. You can do a straight arrest if you have an approximate situation.
Is that what they did to Roger Stone? He just rolled up in there and grabbed him.
You know, I don't know. You know, obviously they could have gotten indictments, secret indictments from the grand jury.
Could have.
And of course, we need, what was it, 25 officers to arrest him.
Yeah, that was horrible. And CNN got to, or MSNBC or somebody got to show up and film it all and
film ahead of time, which is against the law.
Yeah. Well, did you see? They just, you know, he'll die if he has to go into prison. Stone, good friend of Trump's. They just he asked for 2 months because of COVID, to report to prison, and the judge only gave him 14 days. So,
well, that's just to make sure he doesn't have COVID.
Well, she's got health. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well. No, so we'll see. Trump.
The world's upside down.
Yeah.
Well, Trump's not going to protect him.
I think he will.
I don't think so.
No.
You know, well, he never stepped in for Flynn.
Well, he kept saying
Assange got him elected. He never stepped in for Assange.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, Sheriff Joe. He's Phoenix.
3-4 years after he got convicted.
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Well. Yeah, let's pick another one. Let's pick another one.
All right.
I think another one on here we need to talk about is 5G. I believe with the stuff that Musk is doing that you alluded to earlier with the Starlink, I've seen it. I was up in Utah on the top of a mountain a week ago.
You still recording?
Yes, I am. A week ago on the top of the mountain, and we looked up and seen these things moving systematically in grid type patterns, and I've seen videos of Musk's Starlink with these satellites that are moving, and so basically, folks, it's going to be a net all the way around the Earth, and they're going to have cameras up there, and they'll be, you know, we've all heard for years, well, they've got cameras that can see the date on a dime on a street corner. I was told that when I was a kid, you know, so you can imagine what they have now. So what do you think about 5G, Greg?
Well, of course, there are numerous reports on the internet that said 5G was being installed in crazy rapidity because of the COVID thing, right? You get people to stay home, and then you go put 5G in the schools.
Yep, seen that.
You put it in community centers. You put it in
when nobody's looking.
Yeah. Well, you do it, and I saw stuff where they're putting, and there are examples of it right here in the county, where they're making pine trees that have 5G at the top.
Oh, yep.
Where the latest one I saw, they're taking chimneys, fake brick chimneys, and putting them on rooftops.
Really?
And hiding the 5G inside.
Yeah, and they say, well, it's for aesthetics, you know. They're not really hiding it, you know. Yeah. They're just making it look like, well, we don't just want to throw a tower up there. We're going to kind of. In Phoenix, they have palm trees in Phoenix.
So if you're looking at all the stuff that we talked about, and you've got the chips and the patents and the invisible tattoos and the follow-on and the identification as a result of vaccines, and then you've got all your momentum movement issues, and you have that not only for your personal chip and the rest of that, but all the cars that have been made since 2000 have sophisticated stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know,
they can turn them off. I mean,
you can't turn the General Motors ones off. Even if you're not paying for the 5-star or whatever it is.
OnStar, yeah.
OnStar?
That comes with it anyway.
It still follows.
Yeah.
So if you wreck it, they turn you in even though you turned it off.
Yeah.
They turn you in.
Yeah.
The sheriff shows up and says, you know, what happened to you, sonny boy? Why did you drive off the road? We saw that your car went off the road.
Just like Google, they're watching still, even though
they're not going to stop.
Yep.